This is the client info page. From here, you will be able to control all of the aspects of the plan input, look at the report, input recommends, and make detailed adjustments to assets or other aspects of the plan. So let's start at the top. Anytime you want to navigate back to the library, click on the client's hyperlink in the top left. Before we get into the tax rates, I want to explain the horizontal menu at the top of the page. Library does the same thing as clicking the client's link, which is to bring you back to the plan library. Recommends will bring up a list of our pre-built recommendation calculators. With these, you can test the effects they might have on the plan, and if satisfied, you can apply them with a click of a button. Currently, our list of recommend calculators include market dynamics, liquid asset priority, destination tracks, reverse mortgage, debt acceleration, Roth IRA conversion, guaranteed income benefit, and money flow, which is not a calculator, but a spreadsheet form of money flow instructions that outline the above recommendations. The Generate Report button will bring up the plan report, which numerically defines everything within the plan. Detailed account data, projections, asset by category, cash flow, and the effects of inflation and tax on each account and income flow are just some examples of what is contained. Lastly, the financial plan summary is a document that outlines the report in Word form so that the recommendations and benefits that the plan provides can be conveyed in a conversational format. FPS, as it is called for short, has pre-packaged paragraphs that coincide with recommendations that you may make. So rather than having to build a Word document from scratch that explains your plan, the FPS allows it so that some light editing will be needed per each individual situation, but the vast majority or the heavy lifting of the work has already been done for you. So let's go ahead and dive into creating a plan, starting with tax rates. When you are inputting information about the client on the library page, one of the things you'll input is the retirement age of the client and the spouse if there is one. So in the pre-retirement and post-retirement tax rate boxes, that retirement age will be applied to determine what pre is and what post tax rates are. If you know that a tax rate is going to change either in pre or post retirement, you can enter that second tax rate followed by the age that it will change in the boxes to the right of the primary tax rates. Below the tax rates, you'll notice 4 blue buttons that each open up a menu to input all of the estate tax rates, desired incomes, expected incomes, and investments. So let's start with estate tax rate. The first thing you will want to input is the applicable exemption for the client and possibly a spouse. Once you enter the exemption amounts, input the tax rate that would apply after that exemption is exhausted. The default of 40 years from the client's current age will be input in the age range boxes, so you can go ahead and hit apply after entering exemption amount and tax rate. Before we move on to the next schedule, I want to explain that there are 2 methods of inputting income, expense, and investment information into the plan, and they do not efficiently overlap. You can either use the schedule buttons or you can use the income and asset menus on the right. When it comes to inputting incomes and expenses, both options function almost exactly the same, but simply have a different look and feel. When it comes to inputting investments, I would suggest that for convenience and speed purposes to use the schedule, and for planning precision and more complex investments that you have exact expense ratio data and growth rates for, I would recommend using the menu on the right for liquid, pension, illiquid, and other assets. I'm going to explain the schedules first, and then we will get to the menus after that. The next schedule below estate tax rate is Itemized Desired Income. In this menu, you'll have 8 submenus, each for inputting itemized expenses with separate inflation rates. Notice that you also have the flexibility to enter a second inflation rate within each submenu. This is used for stress testing financial plans in time periods where you might expect abnormally high or low inflation for a number of years. Right now is a prime example, as we have artificially suppressed inflation rates for a number of years, and one could rightly expect that we experience higher than normal inflation for a number of years sometime in the next decade. You could set the inflation rate at 4%, for example, for the first 5 or 6 years of the plan, and then bring it back down to the historical average after that. The inputs would look like this. Inflation rate, 4%. Second rate box would be checked, and 2 would be input after that, followed by 6 in the at year box. You also have the option to pre-populate from and to year inputs. This is especially helpful in the living expenses category, as we know that those kinds of expenses are going to be constant for the remainder of the client's life. So pre-populating from year 1 to 40 will apply these expenses for the entirety of the plan. Expenses such as mortgages generally will not have any inflation rates, while health insurance expenses would probably have a higher than average inflation rate compared to the rest of the categories. And that is why these expenses are subcategorized as such. Some of the submenus are going to have another layer of submenus. For example, if you click on the loans submenu, you'll notice that there are auto loan, credit card, and personal subcategories. The blank slots allow you to input custom categories within each submenu. Itemized expected income works exactly like itemized desired income. There are 6 submenus for different income categories, each with their own inflation rates. Once you've entered all of the income information, you can click Submit and move on to the next category. Lastly, we have itemized investments. When you input the investments here, they're going to be assigned preset expense ratios and growth rates based on your inputs. For this reason, you can opt to either input your investments using the itemized investment schedule, or start inputting them using the asset menus if you need to be precise or you know the exact expense ratios or growth rates of an asset. But keep in mind, you can always edit assets on the menus to the right after you've input them in the schedule, so you really can't do anything wrong at this point. Let's continue covering the itemized investments menu, and then we'll look at the asset menus directly afterward. Upon opening the menu, you'll find out the particulars of each investment using the drop-down menu, and there's a notes section at the bottom. Each input box asks a question that helps identify the particular type of investment, and the system will intuitively take those answers and assign expense ratios, tax brackets, and growth rates. Once you've completed each input box, you can hit Submit, and you'll have the option to add another investment or close the schedule. On the right side of the client info page, you'll notice the menus that we've discussed earlier. Client data, applied recommends, desired income, expected income, and down the list all the way to other assets. Let's begin by selecting client data at the top. The first sublink is client info, which is the page we are currently on. The reinvest link will pull up a menu that allows you to determine where excess cash flow from year to year is being reinvested. You can split up the excess cash flow or have it reinvested all into the same account. Right below that is the asset priority link. This pulls up a menu that displays the order of distribution by account for income the client needs to live on. You can rearrange the order of distribution by simply using the up and down buttons. If you have applied liquid asset priority from the recommends menu already, this order will already be optimized. The next menu down is applied recommends. This simply displays the recommends calculators that you have already applied to the plan. If you click on any of the links in this menu, you will be taken to that particular recommends calculator.